you mentioned always being truthful. What I see with truth, right? What I see is more important than telling the truth is letting go of managing perception. Right, that's been a hard one for me this last 6 months. It's like 6 months. Like, where am I telling the truth, but I'm telling in such a way that makes me look a certain way? Right,
Okay.
like,
Yeah. Or I
because
was just gonna
I'll
say, or
go for it.
go. Well, I'll quick let you expand upon that. But then it's like, yeah, you're saying something that might be like factually true, or like something that might be as true about myself. I'm doing this, but within the wrong environment, or the tone in which you say it, or the way in which you say it, it can be wielding it as a, as an ego tool, as, something other than truth motivated by love. Because there's that love component too of like, I want the best for you and you want the best for me. We don't want to just clobber each other with truths. If I went up to Harley and he's pissing me off, I'm like, actually, I think you're horrible. Like it, that I might think that at the time, but that's a horrible use of even my true emotion at the time. So I kind of cut you off there, but I wanted to point that out. So yeah, keep going.
Yeah, that's the more the emotive function of it, in the sense of like, rather than like you're making me feel this, like, hey, I'm experiencing this feeling right now. And so there's an old acronym called STATE, STATE, right? How it's regularly spelled. And it's a way you approach conflict. And it's part of the book Crucial Conversations. And the first part of that is you state the facts. Like, so a fact is you said X, right? You said X. Then you tell the feeling, ST, tell the feeling. That made me feel X, Y, Z. Like, that made me feel this way. So you said X, that made me feel X, Y, Z. So let's say, for example, you said you do the dishes, you didn't do them. That made me feel unseen, And then the A is asking for their story. Like, what was your story? Like, what do you feel about that? I'm gonna actually pull that up and show people, but I'll do it after I explain this. But long story short, when that's the emotive function, right? But what I'm talking about, like, as a man, right? One of our, I guess you say, biological drivers is status. Like, we do certain things for status, and that's what makes us attractive. So it's very easy to bend the words, or bend sayings, or bend, perhaps who you are as a person, to facilitate the growth of one's status. And that's what I'm referring to more specifically. It's like, hey, not that anyone asks what your income is, like, what's your income? And like, maybe you add in things like tax refund, for example, or something like that. That's my income as well. Like, that's the truth, but it's not the truth, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to say, like, because you mentioned, always telling the truth. What I find more difficult is being truthful, being high fidelity, being able to speak directly to who you are. Integrity, which is your thoughts, words, and actions are aligned. To me, that's the harder thing to do than telling the truth. Because telling the truth, and perhaps this is even a deeper question, is the truth in the sense of, like, it exists regardless of you? Or is the truth something that you speak and you determine? And if it's not you determine, it's like, are you speaking to what the external truth is in that determination? And that's where I am talking about managing perceptions. I know it's a bit complicated, but with the managing perception part, for me, it's really important to, like, pause and be like, what do you do for work? Oh, I work at Macca's. It's like, it's cool. It's fine. So that's what I was speaking to about the managing perception part.
Okay. Harley,
there's a whole lot there.
Yeah, I bet. Harley, do you have anything, or I'll expand on something? Go
for it. The word gnosis. I don't know. It's another box, but it's along the similar lines. I don't know if you've heard of that. Gnosis.
No.
Gnosis. It's like the Greek root word is like knowledge, but it's kind of like that feeling or smell, or like that, you can almost feel when someone lies to you, or you can almost feel when there's resentment in the air. It's that smell factor that you were talking about, that gas leak. I don't know. It's just, yeah. It's just a word that I heard recently in one of my pods. And so I was like, interesting, gnosis. And I've been kind of like looking at it. I GPT'd it just now, and it was kind of like
GPT.
religious or
GP.
philosophical insights. It can kind of seem like a spiritual or mystical situation, but
Yeah,
know.
I got it here on the screen.
kind of like
notices.
Gnosticism is like
Oh,
another
is it-
word that comes out of it.
Is it
Is this-
G or is it?
GNOSIS.
Oh, I've seen this. Yeah. Knowledge of spiritual mysteries. I mean, that's just
Yeah.
one.
Which
love how
like
they
you
give
could
the
say
Latin
spiritual,
root here.
but
That's great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the roots are interesting.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
way.
Sorry. Carry on.
yeah, that's all I was pretty much going to say. But it's like you can almost like sometimes you feel like a message, or maybe not a message, but you can feel the feeling something is going really wrong. Typically, I think you can normally notice when something's going wrong, like you can't sleep. I'm feeling this way. There's some kind of knowledge that I have, or
And
I
is
feel
that
like
the truth?
That maybe it could be. Maybe it's the truth. You were kind of trying to like split the truth up into two ways that I kind of already lost, and like I was kind of confused, but like it might be one of those. I don't know.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. It's tricky stuff. The point you made about, I mean, we could talk about truth for like an hour, which we could, but the point you made, the difference between like integrity and telling the truth, and how, I mean, they're both interlinked. But you brought him an interesting point, which is, the integration of your character, whether or not what you say and what you do are in alignment. And this alignment thing is almost harder than just telling the truth in and of itself. It's like the truth and truthful speech has to be nested within your individual moral character, and whether or not you're an integrated, whether you're a person of integrity. And that makes it, you commented on this, it's like a whole nother level. It's almost like a meta level where it's not just what you say, it's within the context of who you are. And that does add another domain to it, because again, you could say something factually true, but you could say it in such a way that was egotistical, wielding it as a weapon. You could, in an argument with someone, I'm just kind of going on a limb here, but like in an argument with someone, like I mentioned about Harley, like you can bash someone with black truth, with truths that like are not using them towards the good. They're using them in a way.
Say black truths.
Yeah. And different people have different definitions of this word, black truth. The way that I look at it, at least the way that I would define it, is when the broad way would be like wielding truth as a weapon. Like when you're saying something that technically like is true, but is not what someone needs to hear at that time. So you could imagine a negotiation with your significant other in an argument. And you could imagine like, okay, I could rip them a new one. I could tell them all the horrible different things that I think about them in this individual moment emotionally. And that might be true emotionally, but that's not going to be productive for the conversation and actually conflict resolution as a whole. And in some ways, that's wielding your emotional truth as a weapon. That's not an integrated way to do so.